Yeah, so again, you made that response video to me where I was talking about vegan dating and relationships, and my take was if you're vegan, it's fine to date non-vegans. It's just that my advice was if you're going to date somebody and they refuse to ever go vegan, then you probably don't want to continue a relationship with that person for two main reasons. One, it would probably create unreconcilable differences that would end the relationship, and two, you probably just don't want to go to bed with somebody who is a Nazi to animals. So, um, and then you, in your response video, you made you said comparing meat eaters to Nazis is ridiculous. I disagree. So I guess, and that's what I challenged you, you know, to debate on.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
figured there. Like I said before, I had every intention to do it around next week, but I figured football game's over. Why don't we do it right now? There,
Sure.
because since
Sure.
everybody else is too scared to debate you and everything like
Sure.
that. But here's my thing there, Richard, and this is the point I was trying to make there. Me and you, we don't define the dynamics of any type of relationship whatsoever. And I got plenty of friends that are dating, that are vegan, and they're non-vegan there as well there. Now, as far as that's concerned there, as far as the Nazism is concerned, we're talking about two completely different things because here's the thing there. Nazis, the reason why they went and gassed the Jews was because they wanted to exterminate them. It was the final solution to whereas a non-vegan, they eat, people like me, we eat meat in order to survive. We consume the food. You didn't see Nazis up there eating the bodies of Jews, right?
Yeah, I don't
But
see
you
that
also
as
proved not only that, you also proved my point because I wasn't even aware. I had heard stories about Jasmine feeding that dog animals and stuff like that, but I never really got into that there.
sure. Yeah.
So basically, you just proved my point essentially there. Did you get a divorce from her?
Well, no, but if that were to have kept going on, I would have. The whole thing was she was gonna stop doing it.
But by
Um,
your own admission, at that time she was a Nazi, right? In your definition, as far as if a vegan went and dated a non-vegan or so forth, and because she did feed that dog meat, that means that she contributed to the death and suffering of animals. So, by your definition, is your wife Jasmine a Nazi? Yes or no?
yeah, I don't know if it's as easy as a yes or no, but yeah,
You
certainly she did. Certainly she did something wrong and something that I was certainly against. I think it's morally wrong
Yeah,
for
but here's the
sure.
thing. What really got me upset and the reason why I wanted to get it on tonight there was because I'm up here watching a football game and someone sent me this message saying, "Hey Vince, he said this and said that." Probably just and I will admit I'm riled up, been drinking a little bit there. It was a good football game, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is this here, you had made this whole thing about Nazism and stuff like that, but yet your wife, and this is why I said you needed to really think about that. Because here's the thing, I made that video there. I pre-taped that on Friday. I haven't made any videos today actually. I just had it to where it automatically loaded there. So I wasn't even aware that your wife had actually fed a dog meat there essentially. So at that time, was she a Nazi
Well,
in your
here's
in your
the
definition?
yeah, so here's the difference. Like we talked about this obviously. The whole reason she was doing it was because like literally a family member that she was in love with like loved was dying, and she kind of was panicking and thinking of anything she could do to prevent this dog from dying, and really it was just a simple solution. She just needed to feed her pancreatic enzymes. So
Right.
it's a significant difference between that and saying I don't care about animals. I'm going to kill and eat them.
Well,
You
how is
you
that a
understand?
difference here, Richard? How is that a difference here? I mean,
Well,
you just said that I mean, because I mean, let me
look,
ask you this here because
I'm not saying what she did was right at all. And yeah, certainly. If you're paying for meat, it is tantamount to Nazism. I just think she ended up doing it out of not knowing what was going on, being in a state of panic, and I think at that time she'd only been vegan for like maybe 3 years or something. I don't think she was as stuck into the like ethical ideas as I was. So, okay,
but you would
sure. I
so
guess
that was,
I guess
you
to
can
answer
say
your
that that was
question, sure.
compromising, right? But that
Yeah.
says that you compromise between that situation, right? So what makes that different from any other
Yeah.
relationship?
So, well, I'm not saying compromise is a bad thing. Like when I'm giving advice, like, okay, yeah, if your partner's like saying never, it will never go vegan, like obviously that's just advice. If you want to date somebody who isn't vegan, as long as you're not contributing to a rights violation, I don't see what the issue is. It's just that for me personally, I don't think it's a good idea. I think it will likely lead to an unreconcilable differences, and that's from personal experience. That's from seeing other people who had issues with similar experiences. A lot of women who are in vegan activism have boyfriends or husbands that eat meat, and creates a shit ton of fucking problems in their relationship. So I was just giving general advice on what I thought. It's not like I'm some like weird relationship god where I'm telling people don't ever do this because it's like some sort of moral imperative. It's just advice. But yeah,
Right, but
like I
in
mean,
that
if you're gonna
particular
ask me,
instance,
sure, like
particular
let's just
instance,
get
you
through it.
compromised.
Yeah, so we compromised, sure, but like to get through this, yeah, what she did was tantamount to Nazism. I would agree.
Okay,
So sure,
but you didn't. But here's the thing: you're still married, right?
yeah.
Okay.
But again,
So you
like
have to. So you have to. I mean,
again,
this is what I'm trying to
again,
tell you
dude.
here. You got to be really careful as far as to just automatically just saying, okay, that person's a Nazi and that's it. That's extremism there. There
No,
always has to
no.
be, and even
Well,
you
this
made
is
an
where the debate
exception for your
is.
wife Jasmine, did you not?
Yeah, but this is like I don't see how this really relates to the shit that happened with us, but like this is where the debate is whether
Would you admit that
eating meat is
Jasmine?
tantamount to Nazism.
But would you admit that Jasmine contributed to the death and suffering of all
Yeah.
animals that day?
Yeah, she
Did
did.
she?
Yeah,
She
she
did.
did.
Okay,
And
then.
look, if this was something that would go on where she said, "No, our dogs are just going to keep eating meat," we would have broken up. I had some amount of understanding that she was in a state of panic, that she didn't know what was going on exactly, and you know it was a loved one, so I had some level of understanding with why she did that. And you know, in the end, you know, things were resolved. We were able to feed our dog a vegan diet just fine. She just didn't have the pancreatic enzymes. We gave her an enzyme supplement, no more meat. So it's a bit of a different situation than having a relationship where your partner says, "No, I'm gonna eat meat, and that's just the way it's gonna be. I don't care about animals. It's just I like the taste of meat, and that's that." Big difference there between what happened with me and Jasmine and being in a relationship where your partner says, "It's fine that you're vegan, but I'm gonna eat meat, and that's just the way it's gonna be."
Right,
But
but
anyway,
by you said there that you, I mean, by your own admission, that day she was a Nazi, and you
yeah,
decided to stay with your Nazi wife,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay then.
Well, anyway, Vince, uh, the debate that I was interested in having was whether or not meat eating is tantamount to Nazism. So, you want to get into that?
Hey, sure. I'm fine. I got plenty of tequila here, so I
All
mean,
right, cool. You might want to hold back on that because things will get a
oh,
little deep here.
oh no, no, no. I'm gonna be perfectly fine.
All right. All right, so I guess for like we do have to establish on some level like what Nazism is. I think we're gonna fundamentally agree, but just to be clear for the sake of debate. So when we say Nazi, obviously it doesn't literally mean somebody who identifies as a Nazi, who has socialist principles, who wants to exterminate Jews, believes in an Aryan race, like shit like that. So it's a set of behaviors, and sometimes a set of political beliefs that would make somebody a Nazi. It doesn't have to be ultra specific. I would say the biggest thing is genocidal ideologies, where you're taking marginalized groups and committing mass genocide or mass killings, not recognizing them as a group that has rights. They're some sort of outgroup. So Nazis did that with the Jews. I'd say meat eaters are doing that with animals, because I believe there's no morally significant difference between humans and animals. Therefore, meat eating is tantamount to Nazism, because you're paying for animals to be exterminated, a la Jews.
Okay. So, how long have we continued this genocide for? Ever since the birth of man, right? Caveman used to club big
Yeah,
animal, right?
yeah.
Right. So, after millions of years of development there, or so forth there, and remember, let me ask you this question. Why did cavemen eat meat in order to survive, in order to
Yeah.
live? Can our bodies not process meat as protein and break
Well,
it
yeah,
down
we
into
certainly
amino
can.
acids?
Well, yeah, we certainly can.
Okay. So why do you, here's the thing there. Would you consider, do you consider a cow being on the same level as a human being?
Like, in terms of what?
Can it speak to you?
Well, no, it's
Can
certainly.
can you understand a train of thought that's coming from the cow?
So, cows are less intelligent. You might even be able to argue that they're less sentient. The number of subjective experiences they may be able to have would be less than a human being. But again, I don't see a morally substantive difference. So, like in the case where, let's say, I don't know, Nazis were killing Jews or other people and breeding them to eat them in this hypothetical scenario, you'd obviously have a problem with that, but you don't have a problem with people doing that with animals. So,
Right. So
name,
let me just
so I would,
establish that.
well, let me
So
finish.
just to,
Let me finish. I would
oh,
say
sorry about
name,
that.
so yeah, I would say name the trait that's lacking in animals, that if lacking in human beings, it would be morally acceptable to treat those trait equalized human beings the same way we treat those animals, where we breed them, we kill them, we eat them.
Okay. So, by your definition, any type of killing of animals is genocide. It's Nazism. I just want to make sure that we have that established.
Not any type of killing, so I'm specifically mentioning like animal agriculture. I wouldn't say like if you were to kill a bear that was attacking you and you were using lethal force in self defense. That's obviously, not, that's you're well within your right to use self defense. Just like how you're well within your right to use self defense against a human being that would do the same thing to you.
So, your definition is going to be in terms of animal agriculture. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, so animal agriculture, it could be specific instances of hunting, um, that sort of thing.
Okay, Richard, are you familiar with the production of wheat or any type of other vegetables?
Okay, I don't see how this relates to a trait that you would have to name.
But this has nothing to do with traits there, Richard. Now, this has nothing to do with traits. Let me explain.
You're
Have
running
you
away
ever
from the
have you ever
challenge.
worked on a farm before?
No.
Okay, I've worked on the farm with my Aunt Rocky Lee and Uncle George. My mom sent me down to Seaboard, North Carolina, to work on their farm because I was a pretty bad kid there. Sent me and my brother. I worked on the farm for about a year and a half there. Okay, in order to grow wheat, for example, you got to clear the field there basically of any type of varmints or animals such as rabbits there or so forth, or groundhogs, anything that will tear up, any type of vegetables there that will munch on it. That's the same as in a garden, for example. And in a garden, usually I'll spray a little apple juice or something around the plants in order to keep the animals out and other insects there. And then once you clear those out there, and once you grow the wheat, then the wheat thrasher comes along and kills the animals. So And that's what's used to make a lot of the vegan products out there. Now, given that definition as such there, and we've went over this again, would it be more considerate for those companies that do make those vegan products, instead of running that wheat thrasher, just to go and pick the wheat itself, so that way it doesn't hurt the animals?
Would it be more considerate? Yes. Is it a rights violation? No.
How
So,
how is it not a rights violation there?
well, before we get into that, I'd like you to name a trait. That's what you like. That's what the challenge has to be. If you, even if we establish that, I don't know, there's some state of hypocrisy when it comes to vegans and their food choices, that just ends up being a tu quoque fallacy. It doesn't justify what you're doing. So,
Didn't you ask me that last debate there about name a trait there?
yeah, I think we probably ended up discussing name the trait in our last debate. Chances are, so if you're gonna say, if we were breeding human beings and killing them and eating them, like I think you would agree that would be tantamount to Nazism, right?
If we were killing and breeding animal, I mean, excuse me,
No,
if we were
humans.
killing and
Yeah,
breeding human beings,
yeah, like
that was
specific
actually done.
types. Yeah, and
That
specific
was
types
done
of
at one
human
time
beings.
there in history. Cannibalism.
Um, well,
That's what we would call cannibalism.
well, humans have been bred. That did happen during the slave trade.
Yeah.
As far as like eating people, that's happened all throughout history. There's certain tribes that use that as some sort of ritualistic practice to honor the dead. There's some warrior tribes that did it because they thought they would gain the power of their enemies. There's the Liberian civil wars where there was literally no food, but there were plenty of dead bodies, and people just ate people just out of desperation because there's no other foods. I understand, but what I'm asking you is if there was like a hypothetical situation where we were, say, only taking Jews, breeding them, killing them and eating them, and we did that like perpetually, just like with animal agriculture, would you agree that's tantamount to Nazism and wrong?
Yes, that would be tantamount to Nazism.
Okay, so you don't have a problem doing that to animals, but you have a problem doing that with people. So name the trait that's lacking in animals, that if lacking in human beings, you would have no problem, you know, imposing that same treatment on those trait equalized human beings.
Okay, now I remember how I answered there. As I explained in the previous debate, animals, cows, are not equal to humans here. They're simply not equal.
Well, we recognize that, but
I mean,
we both recognize that, but you
right,
need
but
to name a trait.
but we breed cows for consumption there, to live, to survive, to
You're not
eat.
answering the question, dude.
I just answered the
No,
question.
you
This
didn't.
was the same question you asked me last
No,
time.
you didn't. Okay, so Vince, you're alluding to the idea of there being some sort of distinction between cows and humans. You're not mentioning
Why
a
wouldn't there be a
morally
distinction? We're
well.
not.
We both recognize there is a distinction. My
What
argument is
makes a
that
cow a
there's.
human, Richard?
I'm not
What
saying
makes a
cows are
cow a
humans.
human?
I'm
What
not saying
makes a
cows are
duck a
humans.
human?
I'm not saying any of them are human. What I'm saying is there's no morally substantive difference between these two where I'd be okay with holocausting like chickens or cows or pigs, but I wouldn't be okay with holocausting humans. So what I'm asking you is, based on your own moral framework, what are cows, chickens, or pigs, or any other animal lacking that if also were lacking in a human being, you'd be okay with doing this to human beings? Because
Well, they lack.
supposedly,
Well, simple. They lack the right to fight back there.
what do you mean the right to fight back?
Well, I mean, I mean, that's exactly what I'm stating there. And not only that,
Well,
farmers
I
are the
mean they
ones that
fight back.
actually breed the cows itself. So if it
I
wasn't for
so you're
okay,
okay
so
with
if it wasn't
wait
for
wait
food
wait wait
production,
wait wait. So
well, let me finish let me finish what I'm saying there.
I think you're going off on
We
a tangent that's not related. You did
Oh no,
name a
I'm gonna
trait.
circle back around there. I'm gonna circle back around.
Okay, sure, go
Okay,
ahead.
because I want to answer the question. I want to get into more detail as far as a trait's concerned. There's not so much as a trait itself there. It's just that if we didn't have to eat, those cows wouldn't exist to begin with there. Okay, because we breed the cows, we breed the chicks and everything like that. And I've said this before, on previous videos there, these slaughterhouses are horrible, and as far as what they're doing to animals. I mean, I've seen that video to where, the chicks and stuff had gone down that little shredding thing. That's kind of disgusting there. Would you not agree with me on that?
Yes.
Yeah. And like I said, and what was the solution that I had offered there morally? Do you remember what I said?
Well, you said something about lab-grown meat, I think.
Yep, cultured meat there.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
the circle back around and answer your question there, the thing about it is animals don't have human traits there. You're still trying to equate a cow having the same human rights there when it's not a human. There is no trait the name because a cow does not have human rights because it's not a human.
Okay,
It's a piece of meat. It's food.
okay,
That's what it is.
I don't like you're kind of changing your answer a little bit, but the first answer you gave me was a right to fight back is the trait that
Well,
makes
that's
it.
one thing. Yeah, because they
Well,
don't
are
have the
there
human trait to actually think that. I mean, this isn't the movie Animal Farm.
Okay, well,
Have you seen any
is this
instance
the
where
trait? Okay,
cows gather?
well, wait,
Have you
wait.
ever seen an instance where cows gathered up to fight back against the farmers?
Where like a herd of cows gathered to fight back?
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. I've certainly seen single cows fight back. I've seen single animals fight back. I don't know if they've. I'm not
I'm not
sure.
talking about
Maybe
fight back. I mean organized together and then fight back
organize.
against the farmers. Like in the movie Animal
Um,
Farm. You ever seen the movie Animal Farm?
I didn't see Animal Farm specifically, but I've seen like Chicken Run. I do have to watch Animal Farm, but
You should
yeah,
really watch Animal
yeah.
Farm because I think you would like it there. The farmers being abusive to the animals fight back, and then it turns out the pigs then turn into the
Well,
human
yeah, it
beings
was.
itself.
I know George Orwell's Animal Farm. I know the book.
Oh,
It's an
okay.
allegory for like Soviet, yeah. But the trait that you mentioned at first was right to fight back. Like, is that the principal trait that you really care about, or is there other like more significant ones that you want to mention?
Well, what I'm pointing to in particular is what kind of traits do cows have as far as human beings are concerned? What
Well,
traits do cows have in common with humans here?
this isn't about finding commonalities. This is me asking you what the difference is, not the commonalities. I'm asking you what traits does a cow lack that a human has that makes it okay to kill the cows but not the humans? And so far,
Intelligence for intelligent thought there, for example.
okay, so right to fight back, intelligent thought.
Well, right to fight back is the exact same cause as intelligence. That's why I mentioned there
Okay,
that
so
has
all these
have you
other
ever seen
traits
a group of
revolve around
cows,
intelligence.
chickens, and ducks, just like in the movie Animal Farm, gather and organize together and then go and fight back against a farmer?
Okay, so intelligence is the principal trait, and all these other things kind of branch off from intelligence, like right to fight back.
Right.
Okay.
I was just naming that as a general
Okay.
example. So I've named. I
Sure.
mean, and it's more than that there, Richard.
Okay.
Because I
Do
mean,
you want to
like I
mention
said,
any other traits that would be substantive enough to justify killing animals?
but why do we kill animals for, Richard?
Well, we kill animals for a variety of reasons. Because we like the taste, because some people think we need it. Like, I don't know what that has to do with like the question of morality and whether or not meat eating is tantamount to Nazism. That's what we're trying to get at.
Okay, okay, I'll make it simple for you there. Why did the Nazis kill Jews for?
Well, they killed Jews because the Nazi Party had crazy racist conspiratorial beliefs against Jews in particular, but branched out into other races, but Jews in particular.
Did Nazis eat Jews? Did they eat them for food
Okay,
consumption purposes?
we've already established Nazi isn't necessarily a very specific term we're using. I already gave you the hypothetical. Like, let's say let's say, I don't know, a group of people, the new Nazi party or something, or the Gloop Gloop Glop Glop party started taking Jews, breeding them, killing them, and eating them. You already agreed that's tantamount to Nazism, right?
Right.
Right. So
But
what I'm asking,
you're comparing eating meat to Nazism there. But there are
well,
two different reasons, but they're
well,
two
listen,
completely different things there. They're
well,
two
listen,
completely different things.
we already agree that if we were to take certain races or racial minorities, breed them, kill them, and eat them, that would be tantamount to Nazism. The reason it wouldn't be tantamount to Nazism to do that to animals is because there are morally substantive differences, is what you claim. And right now, the principal trait you've given me is intelligence. And there's
Well,
other
that's just one
things.
of many there.
Right.
But let
Okay.
me
Well.
ask you this question here.
I'm sure there's many traits that differentiate humans and animals, but I just want the morally substantive ones that you think would justify killing and eating animals, but not killing and eating people.
Okay, did the cows kill Jesus? The
What?
Nazis believe that the Jews killed Jesus here. Are cows responsible for killing Jesus?
Um, we literally just kind of resolved this, and
We
now
haven't
you're going.
resolved this whole thing there. There's
We've
completely you're making a comparison between Nazism and the
Vince, we
consumption of meat when there's so many differences between the two. Completely,
okay, Vince, we already resolved
I
the
don't think we've
issue.
resolved it there.
Listen,
I mean,
let
I'm
me
sorry,
let
I
me
don't think we
finish.
resolved
Let
it.
me finish. We've
Okay.
already resolved the issue of what we define as Nazism. Doesn't have to be a specific conspiratorial belief against Jews. We already agreed that if like some sort of people were to take certain ethnicities or ethnic minorities, breed them, kill and eat them, just like we do with animals, that would be tantamount to Nazism. This doesn't necessarily have to involve conspiratorial beliefs against Jews or believing Jews killed Jesus. We agree on that, right?
Right, but are cows a
Okay, so
minority? Are cows
right,
a minority?
it doesn't matter. I never even specified that it has to be a minority. I said specific ethnicities or ethnic minorities. So
Right,
like if
but
they only
you've not pointed to any comparison between the consumption of cows really
okay,
to Nazism there because
okay,
we know I mean we already know
Vince,
what the definition of Nazism. So you got
okay,
to call it by something else there,
let's
Richard.
resolve this first part about Nazism. So let's say if black people were to round up white people, breed them, kill and eat them, just like we do with animals, would that be tantamount to Nazism?
No, that would just be killing and eating animals there. So
What the fuck? It says running. This meeting will end in 10 minutes unless I upgrade. What the fuck is this shit?
what?
Do I have to pay for Zoom
Oh
now?
yeah, if you got a free subscription there, I think you got to pay for it.
Oh fuck. How much is it?
I think it's like $7.99 a month there. I tell you what, here's what we'll do.
No, I'll just pay for the thing and then we'll keep debating. So,
Okay.
do you agree that if black people were to round up white people, kill and eat them, just like how we do with animals, that's tantamount to Nazism?
Well, that'd be cannibalism, but you can make the argument as far as it being Nazism. So yes, because that's a human eating another human
Right, but I
and
mean,
abusing another
like
human. You
the
can call it cannibalism, or you can call it slavery.
well, it's
You can also call it
certainly
Nazism. So yes, I'll agree with you on that end.
cannibalism. That's not it's certainly cannibalism, like that's not being argued, but you agree that would be Nazism essentially.
Yeah, you can define it as such there. If it's due to their race of creed there, basically. And, if a group of blacks are rounding up a specific group, that being white people, then yeah, that would be pretty much considered the same as Nazi. Okay. Yeah, I see that you just upgraded it.
Yeah, all right.
But what I was pointing out is you're talking human beings here. But
Yeah,
now we're talking about
so we have resolved the issue with Nazism not having to do with conspiratorial beliefs on Jews. It's just more of a general principle on genocidal kind of behavior.
yeah,
Um
because it's human
now
and human.
Right. So we recognize that there are differences between humans and animals. The position that I'm coming from is that there's not a morally substantive difference between humans and animals. So if we were to do that same thing to animals, breed, kill, and eat them, that would be Nazism because they have enough traits that are similar to human beings. There's no morally substantive difference. So from my perspective, that is tantamount to Nazism. You're saying it's not, and so far you've named the trait intelligence, and you're claiming there's some other branching traits that branch off from intelligence, like being able to organize and fight back.
Well,
So,
Richard, a cockroach also has similar traits to a human being there. But the problem is, a cockroach isn't a human being. A cow is not a human being there. It can
I
have traits there, but
recognize.
it doesn't. But the difference is, it's not a human being. It's not a sentient being there. A cow is
Well, cows
not
are
a sentient
sentient.
being.
Yes, they are. What?
No,
Cows aren't
they are not
sentient?
a sentient being
Can you
there. And
define
even if
sentience
it
for me?
was, excuse me,
Do you
what
know what
makes it a,
sentience is?
it's alive, but it's
No,
not
do you.
capable of any reasonable human thought there.
You're
It
talking about
takes more than just
sapience.
sharing a trait
No, no,
there.
no. You're mixing up sentience with sapience. Um,
Okay.
Sentience is the ability to have a subjective experience.
Okay.
So it's simply consciousness. Sapience is like a term that's generally used to define like human level wisdom.
Right. But even but let's
So
but let's I tell you what, let's go ahead and put the argument aside and say that a
no, no,
cow is
no.
well,
Okay,
we'll
well, we agree they're
I'll go
sentient.
ahead and acknowledge that okay, a cow is a sentient being. So I'll agree with you there just to clear the air on that. So if a cow is a sentient being, uh you've heard of wolves coming out of the woods and eating cows, right?
Yeah.
Why do wolves come out there to eat cows? Is it because of Nazism?
No, it's because they want to eat food and live.
Exactly, the same as a human being there.
Well,
So do you
Vince,
so as
we're
far
we're
as a
going a
wolf is
little
concerned,
too
is a
we're
wolf as guilty of wanting food as a human being?
okay. We're getting a little too far ahead in the debate. We haven't resolved this issue yet. So we agree on the term Nazi. Now, the thing we don't agree on is whether or not there is a morally substantive difference between humans and animals where it's okay to like genocide animals, not okay to genocide humans. So I want you to name a trait that animals are lacking that makes it okay to genocide them, essentially. Now, if you're going to be logically consistent and say that is the reason it's okay to genocide these animals because they're lacking this trait or a specific set of traits, then if a group of humans were lacking those same traits, you should have no problem with genociding those humans. So I just want you to name the trait or a set of traits that you believe create this morally substantive difference.
Well, the difference is that a cow is not a human being there. It has nothing to do with
Okay,
it has no I've already named the
you
traits. It has no intelligent thought there, you know. It
well, it
has
has intelligent
no
thought. It's just it
it
lacks.
has no it cannot organize. It can't go and pick up a gun and start shooting the farmers just because they're eating them there,
Okay,
right?
so you mentioned intelligence, organize, ability to organize and rebel.
I'm just curious, do you keep bug spray around your house?
I do have mosquito repellent, but I don't
Okay.
have any bug spray. Anyway,
So, it would you consider a
this
mosquito
isn't
having the
this
same
isn't
traits as a
relate.
cow?
No, like again, already gone over this. I'm fine with killing in self defense, so I'm
But a
fine with
bug
somebody
has
smacking a
similar traits
mosquito.
to a human being there. Do you
And if
keep
a human
mosquito
being were to bite me, I'd be fine with shooting a fucking human being so he stops biting me. So
So what makes an insect different than what makes an
it
insect
doesn't.
killing an insect different than killing a cow there?
Well, if the difference where I'd be okay with killing an insect and not be okay with killing a cow is because I don't have to kill the cow in self defense, whereas I do with the insect.
Will the insect kill you if it bit you? If a mosquito bit you, would it kill you?
Well, it doesn't matter. If a human bit me, it wouldn't necessarily kill me. I still think
What
I
if a
have a right
cow?
to defend myself. And by the
So
way,
if a cow
mosquitoes are the
bit
most
you, would you kill
deadly.
the cow?
By the way, well, not necessarily if it was a
So why?
legitimate enough
So what's
threat.
the difference between killing a mosquito because it bites you and not killing a cow because it
My
bites you?
God, dude. We're going off in tangents, but to
Well, no,
answer,
you
this is a
led
tangent.
the
You keep
subject.
you
You led
keep
to the subject
dodging.
there.
You keep dodging, but I can
I've
answer
not
for
dodged
you.
the
You are
question.
dodging.
Come on, I haven't
You are
dodged it.
dodging.
You're the one that
You're
brought up the.
dodging
I
hard,
asked you
dude.
if you had bug spray,
Yeah,
and
well, I can answer
but
this.
answer the
Well,
question.
dude, I can answer this for you. The reason why I have mosquito repellent and I will smack away insects and kill them is because they're attacking me, and that's really the only means I have to defend myself. If a cow bit me, I mean, it's possible that I can just get away. I don't necessarily have to shoot it. But if it was, I don't know, some crazy cow that kept biting me and was going for my throat, and the only way to stop it was to kill it, then yeah, sure.
So
Um,
you admit that for certain reasons that you would
for self
actually kill an
defense.
animal.
Well,
You
for
would
self
actually
defense.
kill an animal yourself. You just
Well,
admitted
yeah,
that you
for
would
self
kill an animal.
defense. Yeah, for self defense. And I'd kill a human out of self defense too. I don't consider that a rights violation.
But if a
But,
mosquito bites you, then it's not gonna kill you. So why kill it there? As opposed to a cow that can
well,
literally
the
kill you there,
difference,
and
again, Vince, the difference here is there's no way for me to harmlessly prevent a mosquito from biting me.
yes, it is.
I don't see how the fuck that would be possible.
Spray the same thing I do around here. I spray lemongrass around my door there whenever I'm outside in South Carolina, and it keeps the mosquitoes away. I
Lemongrass.
don't have
Okay,
to
well,
kill them at all.
I do use mosquito repellent.
I
But
use lemongrass.
again,
I would recommend you use it too. It's also
okay,
safe around your
great.
pets.
Okay, great. So the trait that you mentioned was, well, you mentioned two traits at least: intelligence, ability to organize, to rebel. So, in Nazi Germany, Hitler had a policy where they killed mentally disabled people. So anybody who was mentally retarded. It also involved people who were severely mentally like deranged and insane. Um, they did not have a level of intelligence you're describing. They didn't have an ability to organize and rebel. So, do you not have a problem with Hitler rounding up mentally retarded people and killing them?
Absolutely, I had a problem with it there,
Okay, well, then that's a
because
contradiction.
it's how is it a contradiction?
You said these traits make it okay to kill animals, or the lack of these traits, intelligence, ability to rebel. I gave you a hypothetical example. Well, it's not even hypothetical, it's a real world example. This actually happened where mentally disabled people who didn't have the intelligence and capability to organize and rebel were killed. And you mentioned that those are the traits, or the lack of those traits, make it okay to kill.
Well, not
Um,
just traits there, because I already said because the hypothetical question you asked is if blacks started rounding up white people there and started killing them, and yeah, that would be racism. That would be considered Nazism there because these are this is a human and human essentially. So it's human against human. If it and that's the whole thing there. The reason why we kill animals there, and this is exactly the same thing you said there, we kill animals for the same reason why wolf, the big bad wolf, comes out there and eats those big fat old cows is for food there. Now, I will agree with you. We do need to put an end to these slaughterhouses. We don't need them at all there, and because they're doing. I mean, not only is the production of food uh getting to the point to where it's unsustainable there, but we have all sorts of things that's happening to animals there, abuse of animals. So I mean, yeah, I will
um,
agree that there's because of the increase of agriculture that there is a lot of abuse of animals there. My whole point as far as that's concerned, we still can't disrupt the ecosystem. That's why I advocate more for cultured beef. That's what's going to solve this whole slaughterhouse solution rather than trying to switch the entire world over to veganism, to a vegan diet, simply because it doesn't work in other countries here. You know, it's not going
Okay,
to work everywhere.
well, according to the UN's most recent climate report on Chapter 5, page 76, they stated in a completely plant based food system, we'd have more food to feed a population that would be expected to exist by 2050, which I think is somewhere between 10 and 12 billion, while using less agricultural land than we currently use. So, if you're gonna make that argument, then I
I'm not
especially don't
familiar with that.
I
I'm not
especially
familiar
don't.
with that UN report there.
Well, what's especially strange about this is if we actually switch to a plant-based food system, we'd have more food than we already have because you're maximizing yields because, per unit of land, plants produce more calories, more nutrition. And if that's the case, if we can subsist on a completely plant-based food system with more food security, and you acknowledge that slaughterhouses have to be closed, then I don't know how you have such a hard time grasping the idea that there is no morally substantive difference between humans and animals where it's okay to kill them. Like you already recognize this. We have to shut down slaughterhouses.
Yeah, we have to. I
Is
said we have to shut down slaughterhouses. I didn't say that we couldn't eat. I mean, we have to eat in order to survive there, you know.
well, I've
And
lived.
switching, and the thing about it is, I think our differences also. I mean, we both at least agree that the slaughterhouses and stuff need all the mess that's going on. So that at least is a good thing, you know.
Ask
I
him how
certainly
much
hope
he
so. I
benches.
think we just have, but as far as this is concerned, there. I think that instead of trying to switch everyone to try to be a vegan, because it's going to be impossible. It's just not going to happen there. It would also disrupt the ecosystem as well there, because
So,
you still have to
how
have
would
predatory animals here.
I'm sorry. How would getting rid of animal agriculture disrupt the ecosystem?
Simple. Remember when you? I mean, it's quite simple there. Because if you don't have predatory animals like wolves that eat meat, for
We're
example,
talking about animal agriculture, not culling off carnivorous animals.
okay, okay. As far as agriculture is concerned, okay.
Like, if anything, getting rid of animal agriculture would improve the ecosystem because you don't have to use as much farmland, and you also get less environmental pollution. Cows, pigs, like they all piss and shit. They pollute air and water. They release nitrogen, methane. Like they also reduce what is it? Uh, oh my god, I can't remember why. I don't know why I can't remember this technical term. They reduce biological diversity. And they do that by, again, competing with natural wildlife. You have to clear out a lot of land to grow these animals. They have to eat too, and usually that involves either clearing out land so that you can have grazing area, or planting more plants to feed to them. So either forage crops or like soybeans. So you can't use that as an argument, like disrupting the environment to promote animal agriculture.
Right, but you can't grow any. I mean, I've never read that UN report, but I know for a fact that you can't grow vegetables everywhere. Otherwise, we would never have had that starvation in Africa there. If you can just go and grow anything anywhere though, you know.
Well,
And,
like there are areas that have a lack of arable land, for sure. And again, some of this can be dealt with technology, just nitrogen enriching the soil, shit like that, importation, trade. But this is something that's very feasible, and at least the majority of the world, especially in the developed world. No, getting rid of animal agriculture would increase food availability. If you're talking about like very weird, remote, mountainous regions, like, yeah, sure, if you're only going to eat local food, then it's like not possible. But if you're talking about like the majority of the planet, no, that's certainly not the case.
so do you? I mean, so from what you're, I mean, just it now from your analysis, and I may be wrong about this. You believe that it's possible to have a world society to where there's no killing of any animals whatsoever.
Like, again, if people are going to live in extremely remote regions, like desert mountainous regions, you're not going to be able to live there while only eating local food. So there would have, like, for those weird remote regions, sure, you'd have to have trade, or people just wouldn't be able to live there. But I'm saying for the majority of the globe, yes. Just read the UN's latest climate report. Just skip to chapter 5, page 76. They outline how a completely plant-based food system would actually massively increase food security.
Okay, you can send.
By the
I would
way,
send an email on that. There, I'll check
yeah,
that
sure.
out. There, I've not heard. I've heard opposite as far as that's concerned. There, and as far as, and that may be just because of cultured meat marketing itself, as far as to what I work on essentially there. But getting back to that point, when I
I have a
asked
question
about
for
is
you. I have a question for you. Someone asked how much you bench.
how much I bench at this point in time, just 225.
Okay, what's the best you've ever done for like either set or one rep max?
395, but I was on steroids at that time.
Okay, all right. I have yet to bench
What?
395 for a single, but I'm planning on doing a 405 for a single eventually.
Well, don't take steroids for it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
It'll mess you up.
I'm not going to. But yeah. So back to the name the trait issue. Um, you were saying intelligence and things relating to intelligence, ability to communicate, coordinate, rebel. Well, again, there's people who have that inability, so I don't know how you can justify killing animals if you are not okay with killing people that are trait equalized to these animals.
Well, I can justify killing animals simply because I need to eat there. In my opinion,
Okay,
that's my opinion that I will kill an animal in order
okay,
to eat. I
okay,
feel
Vince.
that it's established for me in order to stay healthy and to grow.
All right,
And
let's make this like easy. Let's say, for the sake of argument, let's say the world can't go completely vegan, but some people can. Okay? Some people have the luxury to only eat plants, and I think we can both agree that
yeah,
would reduce animal
I
deaths.
was a vegan for a couple of years back in the late
Right.
90s.
So you can eat plants is what you're telling me.
Oh yeah, I can do a vegan diet there. I did it for a couple
So
of years.
then how can you use I need to eat as an excuse?
You want to know? I mean, so you want to know why I actually switched from being a vegan to a non-vegan back in the
Why?
late 90s? I
Why?
mean, we got time. You already paid for extra time there.
Yeah, why?
Okay. Okay. So here, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you exactly what happened there. So down in Asheville, there's a food co-op there. And it's where I got most of my food from there. And you gotta. And here's the thing: if you work there, you if you did some volunteer work and stuff like that, you got a discount on your food. And when you're making 425 an hour, that's pretty good there, right? So I ran into this one day I went to this hippie dude there, and he was working along with me there. He asked me why I was a vegan for. I explained because the reason why I was a vegan was not to your extreme. It was because I felt it was a more healthy solution there. That's why I became a vegan there
Okay.
to begin with. And he explained to me, and this is one thing I always hyped about. He explained to me about the ecosystem as far as the why he eats. Because I asked him, why don't you switch to being a non-vegan there? I mean, why don't you switch to being a vegan? And of course, he was a little toted and everything like that. He explained the ecosystem to me to where, in order for the planet, in order to work, and here's how he described it there. We eat meat, we die, we decompose, the grass eats our decomposed bodies, the cows eat the grass, and we eat the cows, and it goes into a circle there. And when you disrupt one part of that circle, you have a broken ecosystem. That was one thing which I didn't still switch over or say there. But at the same time, but that was one of the big factors there, you know. I'm the truth of the matter is, I think the difference is I never had a philosophical thought about veganism as you do, Richard, which I will admit to that there, because my general purpose of being a vegan originally back in the 90s was for health reasons there. So I'm more of a believer in the ecosystem itself there. Now, the other reason being is because I wanted to get into bodybuilding. I knew that I had to improve my health there. And, simply put, beans and rice isn't going to give me enough of those complete proteins there. Now I can sustain as far as living a regular life with a vegan. That's no problem at all. My brother, I told you about my brother, his name's Richard also, and he's a
Yeah.
vegan as well. He does that same thing as well. But of course, he's not as big as me because he has no aspirations of being a bodybuilder. At least I did at that time there, which I'm now well retired at this point in time there. Those are the two reasons why I'm no longer a vegan there. But I'm going to be honest with you, at no point in time uh, that I ever have that inner thought that you have, Richard, as far as veganism is concerned there. My belief is more like that hippie's belief as far as overall veganism, as far as the ecosystem's concerned there. But
Okay,
you've not, I mean, I've
well,
answered the question about the traits there, but I had
well, it
also
leads to a
asked you a question
contradiction.
about the wolves eating the cows. So is the wolf a Nazi because it went and ate a cow for food?
Um, Ideologically speaking, no. The reason why I'd consider meat eaters Nazis is because they have an ideological belief that they have like some sort of moral justification to kill and eat other animals. And again, you name traits like it's because um, of their lack of intelligence. Sort of like how Nazis picked out mentally disabled people and killed them off. So that's why I compare meat eaters to Nazis. When it comes to animals that don't really have an ability to have like these higher reasoning skills and they're just eating because, you know,
Well, that's a
they
door
need to
swinging back the other
survive.
way. You just come on now, Richard. That's the door swinging
No,
back the other way.
no, no. I
How?
don't see how that is. I do
You're making
think,
the same
look,
reasoning that
I
an
do
animal
think,
you just made the reasoning that you've just basically proved that an animal is not on that same you just said it. Don't forget, you can
yeah.
play this back. You just said it there, that a wolf does not have that higher reasoning as a human being there. So a wolf, that's why I asked whether a
What's the
wolf is a Nazi
contradiction?
because it eats meat.
I don't understand what the contradiction is or the gotcha.
Okay, it's I don't do gotcha questions or anything like that. I asked you that you said that anyone that ate meat was a Nazi there. And then I asked you, what about the wolf going out and eating a cow? Is that wolf also a Nazi?
No, and I said the fundamental difference that would disqualify it from being a Nazi is that lack of higher reasoning, where they can kind of take either certain species or marginalized groups or something and say, we're above that, we should have some sort of moral authority over them and be able to kill them. Like, I think that's why, like, that's the determining factor that I'd say would classify someone or something as a Nazi. Since wolves don't have that higher reasoning ability, I'd say they're murderers, but I wouldn't call them Nazis just because they don't have that kind of higher reasoning ability where they can say, well, you know, deer stupid, that's why we get to kill and eat them.
Okay. So with that being said there, remember our last debate where you said that you wanted to wipe out all predatory animals. Based upon that,
I didn't say
have you
that.
changed your position on, wiping out every predatory animal?
Well, no. So, for one thing, I didn't say I wanted to wipe out every predatory animal. I said in cases where it would reduce rights violations, yeah, we should kill predators. Um, in a situation where, say, if you wiped out predators, I don't know, like deer would go extinct because of some, like, you know, ecological catastrophe, then I wouldn't be in favor for it. But in cases where it would reduce rights violations, so there'd be more deer, they wouldn't die off, and everything would be fine, like, then yeah, I don't know why I'd have an interest in letting wolves live.
Okay, so I do remember you mentioning a rights violation. So define a rights violation there for me, if you don't mind.
Define a rights violation. Well, to simplify things, because a lot of people get hung up on, like, how can you violate an animal's rights? Again, I consider veganism a logical extension of human rights. So, in cases where you would consider it a violation of human rights, it would also be a violation of animal rights. So, like hunting. If you're gonna hunt down a deer to kill and eat it, or for sport, like if you did that with a human, that would be a rights violation.
Okay. So you're wanting to, I mean, so I'm just going to wind this back here. You feel that, as far as animals are concerned, in your contention, because it's a rights violation, do you think a wolf would understand it's right that it's a rights violation?
No. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't change it from being a rights violation. If there's like some crazy idiot wacko who's about to kill you, is it not okay for you to kill them so that they don't kill you?
Well, of course, yeah. But
Yeah.
a wolf is not in danger of being killed by a cow.
Right.
I mean,
I
I mean, a cow has killed a wolf before. But I
I
mean,
don't
but
know
I
how
mean,
that
because a
relates
cow
to
is a very
anything.
heavy animal there.
Yeah, I don't
But
know
I
how that
think in
relates to
order to
anything, but
consider it, and this is my opinion, and you probably will disagree with me, in order to consider it as a rights violation, you would have to actually understand the rights here. I don't. I mean, a wolf is obviously not going to understand that killing a cow is a rights violation. A wolf is just going to eat a cow because it's hungry. You know, and I
I
think
understand that.
so. There has to be. You have to look the way I have to answer your question. Swinging back, right? The traits here. You have to answer the question as far as to why that's happening. Why, for millions of years, that we have eaten meat is because we're hungry, just like that wolf. You know,
There
the wolf.
are certainly practical reasons for why we eat meat, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're morally sound reasons.
Okay.
Um, like, I mean, suppose, like, what would it be a good example? It doesn't really matter. So there is a separation between, there being a practical reason. So I don't know, let's say, if there was a food shortage in the United States or in any country, does that make it okay for you to murder other people so that you can get access to food?
Well,
Doesn't
of course not
necessarily.
there,
Yeah,
but
so.
it's happened. But
Well, it
there
has
was
happened, certainly. I'd agree. And there are circumstances where it's understandable why people would do that, but it doesn't make it moral.
no, absolutely not. I would agree with you on that there. But you're
So,
you're 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 talking about special circumstances to where okay, and I guess human beings would probably have a lot of calories, I suppose, to where where someone would think about it.
well, in
That would be the
most
same with zombies. I think if you ate zombies, they would have a lot of calories too, I
Well,
guess.
I mean, in most circumstances where like humans are being killed, in cases where there's like starvation, yeah, they're marginal circumstances. It doesn't normally happen, but again, that I don't think that matters. What matters is there's a distinction between like a practical reason for why you're killing and it being a morally acceptable reason. That's the only thing
Okay.
I'm pointing out. But like again, to get back to the name the trait issue, you still have this contradiction where you're naming specific traits like intelligence and then you're saying a lack of intelligence makes it okay to kill these animals, but then when I point to people who have a lack of intelligence, you're saying it's immoral, but that was the trait that you mentioned, so that
Well,
is
I
literally a
mean,
contradiction.
but you're trying to define you're trying to define something by a trait there itself. And myself there, I'm explaining the reason why I eat meat for. So I'm
we
sure that you already
we
consider me as a Nazi there.
Okay,
But the
well,
thing about it
we
is
we already
that you
established that yeah, sure, you can eat meat for practical reasons. That doesn't mean it's moral.
okay. But
Okay, well,
that's the whole thing. It's your opinion is not going to be the same as my opinion as
well,
far
I
as animals are
understand that.
concerned.
I understand that, and when it comes to these normative topics, it can be hard to argue against it, but what I'm doing here is just testing your logical consistency, and there's a clear logical inconsistency. You're saying lack of
Well, it's the same
intelligence
with, I
makes
would
it.
have to say it's the same with you there.
How?
Simple. I've asked you about the mosquito repellent. I've asked you about a wolf to a cow, to which you admitted there that a cow
I
has less of a higher reasoning skill. So it wouldn't also not understand rights violations as well. And I asked
I
you if a wolf is a Nazi or not there.
I
So
don't know
you can't
when.
define any everyone that eats meat as a Nazi there, because you've equated a you're equating a cow as having the same traits as a human being there. The door swings both ways there, Richard.
I'm not saying cows have the same traits as human beings. What I'm saying is I don't see a morally substantive difference
Okay,
between
do you
cows and
feel
human
that a
beings.
cow is equal to a human being there? Yes or no?
No, no. Vince, here's the fundamental problem, okay? I'm asking you, what, like, from my moral framework, I don't see a morally substantive difference between a cow and a human being, where killing a cow is okay, killing a human being is not okay. I'm asking you to name the difference, the, like, morally significant difference. Like, yeah, cows have spots, okay? Most people don't have spots, but a morally significant difference. So it's probably not something that's going to be visual, like cows have a spot or a tail. Like if you saw a human being with
Well, no, of
spots and a
course
tail,
not.
you wouldn't be okay with killing them. So it has to be something significant, like intelligence or something like that.
Well,
You mentioned,
I'm going to use the same answer that you use. Higher reasoning there. A cow does not have the higher
okay,
reasoning as a human being there.
that's fine. That relates to intelligence.
Okay, yeah.
So
But I've already named the
right,
trait there.
right.
But why are you
You
going
named the
back to
trait. Right,
but why
right.
are you going back to naming the
Well,
trait
listen,
for?
because you're not acknowledging that this is a contradiction. So you said lack of intelligence is what justifies killing an animal. When we find human beings who have that same lack of intelligence, you're not okay with killing those human beings. So clearly, either this is a contradiction, and
Richard,
there's some other trait that you value.
life is full of contradictions
Okay,
there.
so okay, look, if you're gonna admit this is a contradiction, then you've lost, dude.
No, I'm not
That's
trying to
it.
lose or win. I'm not. I
Okay,
haven't lost.
buddy.
I'm
If
drunk. That's all
if
there. So,
okay, dude, if you're gonna
but
say
you know, at the
contradictions are
same
okay,
time,
then
but the
that
door. You've
means
already admitted the door swings both ways there.
no, no, I
I,
haven't. So if you're gonna admit that,
how so?
look, if you're gonna admit that your moral view leads to a contradiction and contradictions are fine, that means you can justify anything. Like contradictions are not okay. If they are okay, then you can justify anything. Like raping kids is fine, but if you smoke weed, you get 20 years in prison. Like I can make any claim if we're
I
gonna throw out like logical consistency.
Well, I mean, I don't feel that it. I mean, here's the thing there. I don't feel that it's a moral issue. I don't consider it as a rights violation for a human being to eat a cow or chicken or
Well, you do.
anything else there. The reason being is we're eating it to sustain ourselves there. We're not
Okay,
eating cows and chickens just because we hate them or that
okay.
we feel that they killed Jesus or anything like that.
So if I
We eat meat for the same reason that wolf eats a cow, the reason why that lion goes and eats a gazelle, we eat it for food there. And
okay, so
I've already named traits here, but here's the thing. I'm going to say the same thing you did. It doesn't matter about traits here.
all right,
What it
what
is what it I mean, and this is the same thing we've done for millions of years. Now, do I want this type of thing to continue to where we continue to have these animal abuses at these slaughterhouses? No, I don't. That's why I want to bring in cultured meats here, and cultured foods here. Because, and here's the wonderful thing about cultured meats. You could take a lump of dirt, you ain't got to grow anything, you ain't got to wait or anything like that. You take it, you break down the amino acids, and then you have some. You can either have a burger, or you can have asparagus or so forth. There, that's what's going to get rid of the slaughterhouses. Not switching to veganism there whatsoever,
okay,
because veganism, in my opinion, is not sustainable. It never
what
will be.
I'm
It,
what
it
I'm
it's a complete deviation of
okay,
the ecosystem.
how would veganism not be sustainable if you think we need to switch to lab grown meat? How do you think we're going to grow lab grown meat? You have to use some sort of growth substrate.
You don't have to grow lab grown meat there. Do you you
Wait,
didn't
you're
check out
saying,
what cultured meat is, have you?
yeah, I know what cultured meat is, but you need some sort of growth substrate. So how are you going to do that without feeding it plants?
You I would suggest to go look up cultured meats here. I mean,
I
it's you
I
don't
know
need
what
you. It doesn't
cultured.
require.
You can use
Oh
a number
gosh,
of
it does
different
not
growth substrate.
require growth. It's boy.
What do you mean it doesn't require growth?
It. Have you ever watched Star Trek before?
Yeah.
Okay, you know how they make you've seen how they make food, right? You've seen that little
Yeah, they can convert energy into matter and they can turn the matter into whatever they want.
right. That's the newer episodes, but originally in the old Star Trek, the original series, that's step one as far as cultured meats are concerned. Cultured meats is a starting point to what you're talking about in the near future, to where every energy is converted over
No, it's
to
not.
that type. It's the first step there, not veganism.
Well, no, it's not a technological step. Like you're talking about totally different technologies.
Yeah, I mean, but you're talking about a first step there. You can't have that original Star Trek without having the
Okay,
original culture meets
Vince.
just the beginning, because eventually we're going to be a spacefaring population there.
Okay,
We're going
Vince.
to be going out in space. We're going to be flying all over the place in 100 and some years. Of course, I won't be around, but taking a cow on a space shuttle is just not going to be sustainable there.
Okay, Vince. Cultured meat means you are taking animal tissue and growing it.
Right. And certain
Right. How are
that's
you
one
going to
way
grow?
of make there's a couple of different ways you can do it, but yeah, that's just one thing. But you also have to understand that cultured foods, and I probably said cultured meat there, I meant to say cultured foods there, because you can also do the same with any vegetable as well. But I'll go back, let's go back, or I
Okay,
think I swung a
well,
little bit, and that's my fault that I swung in that type of direction there.
here's what I'm like kind of getting at. I think you recognize that killing animals for food is wrong. It's just that you have conflicting sort of priorities where you like the taste and you just want to eat meat. So you're
No,
kind of putting up with that uh, immorality until cultured meat exists.
well, I'm not. My problem isn't eating meat there. I've never had any qualms, even as a vegan, as far as eating meat is concerned. Remember, I was a vegan for health reasons here. My
Well,
problem
you
is
weren't
the
vegan then.
production of that meat itself there at its present state there, to where it's no longer going to be sustainable. And because the agriculture industry has to produce more for a growing population, that leads to these type of animal abuses that we see in these slaughterhouses here. I mean, I feel that even with that, there still has to be a production. And even after having cultured foods or so forth, there's still going to be instances of just regular farming there. That's not going to, we're not going to be able to get rid of every slaughterhouse there, of course, naturally. My
Okay,
issue is really
well,
with the way some of these are operating, trying to sustain a ever growing population. It's going to be to a point to where it's not only no longer sustainable, but it makes it susceptible to more animal abuses there, you know.
so Vince, you mentioned like the reason you eat meat is because you have to eat.
Yeah, it's for yeah.
Okay, so if I killed and ate you, would I could just say, well, I have to eat, right?
Well,
Like,
I mean, I know I'm full of calories, but I wouldn't let you kill me there. And that's the difference between a human being and a cow. I'm
well,
not going to let you
cows
kill
don't
me.
just let you kill them, but like I mean, there's mentally disabled people who won't fight back.
Okay.
So could I use the excuse that, well, I have to eat?
Well, no, because in a human society, you would be arrested.
Okay, well, there are societies where I wouldn't. Um,
Name one society.
well, Nazi Germany.
Oh, gosh. Mm. No, even then you would get arrested. You can't
Well,
just,
maybe
even
for
in Nazi Germany, you
cannibalism.
couldn't go around and indiscriminately kill people.
Well, maybe for cannibalism. I know cannibalism. There's still a human meat trade in, I think Uganda. So there certainly are at least some societies or cultures where they wouldn't care.
Yeah, but they're not
But
doing that for food production. They're using that for ritual reasons there in
no,
Uganda.
no. There's a human meat trade because people like the taste of human meat. There's actually a Vice documentary on it. They interviewed a guy who is a cannibal. He said he keeps trying to stop eating human meat, but he says it tastes too good.
I've not seen that at all. That's the first I've actually heard of that there. I didn't even know. I mean, but I mean, there's
So,
a lot of
so what I'm
but
getting at
it's
is,
you're talking about what I would call a niche would be the best way I can describe it there.
well,
It's not
either
something that
way,
happens on a general basis here. We're not going on a general basis, we're not going around and eating human beings here. And if you did try to kill me, which you couldn't there, because of course naturally I fight back, but if you managed to actually go and basically take me out, you would be arrested there. Now you would
well, I
also get the
know
same if you went out and killed a dog there, of course, because you're not killing a dog for meat production or so forth. You would definitely get arrested for that as well there.
Chinese people eat dogs. Also happens in South Korea. I think it
Yeah,
also
they
happens in the
do. I mean,
Philippines and
but we're not, I
Indonesia.
mean that and that's just also my point as well there, you know. But at no point in time in China or in any other general society where it's going to ever be legal to actually eat another human being there. And what you're
Well,
talking about is
that's
in the human meat trade. I'm sure there is a human meat trade, but even in Uganda, eating another human being is still going to be illegal.
my
There's no
point.
society out there in the world to where it's legal to go out and eat it for a human being to go out and eat another human being. Yes, for a dog in China and in certain other cultures, you know, but not human beings towards human beings.
My point is, if you're going to claim that I eat meat because I have to eat, I could say I kill and eat people because I have to eat. I don't see how that's reasonable when there's clearly
I
other
can't equate
options.
that. I can't equate. I'm sorry, but you're never going to convince me to where you're never going to convince me to where I would equate ever eating a steak or so forth to Nazism. But to be honest with you,
Well,
looks like
we already established that, and
right.
you
Well,
what
the
it led to
tequila's
a
hitting me a little bit
contradiction.
hard, so I'm gonna probably just call it a night, I guess here. So.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
Well, why don't we set up another debate there, another maybe in another couple weeks? Because I told you I had to, because I'm not working at Verizon anymore. I got to expand the business or so forth. So,
Sure.
when that way we can get into it further there as well. This was like impromptu because I was a little upset there. You know, I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and go at it right now. But
Sure.
let's set something up next month there, so forth. Unless someone actually has the cojones to actually come out here and debate you or so forth. But let's do something next month, okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I'm
Have a good
down.
night.
You too. Take care.